Greetings, brothers and sisters. So, I made a T-shirt. This is more from my other channel, Pock Laughs Now channel. But I, have started talking about the you-know-what when I say it because of, all of the policies that now exist here. I say, boop. That in this case, I didn't get the boop. And so that's the new T-shirt. One of my viewers recommended it. It's already sold. I don't know. I think like 7 units, which is a lot. I don't sell a lot of stuff here. I enjoy making the T-shirts, but I've gotten away from it. I had to relearn it. There's other stuff. There's a mug and stickers and whatever. So I'm just letting everybody know here. I talked about this on my other channel. It's something I say there. Something I say quite often on my other channel because I talk about the boop more there. But anyways, that's the new merch that I have up, and it's linked in all of the description boxes of my videos on both channels. So let's get into the other stuff here. Okay, so let's start here with Coco Melon. I just found out about this morning. I have something hilarious to get to. Ron DeSantis said something so stupid. It's not Fetterman level, but it's stupid in its own way. But anyways, let's start here with Coco Melon. And so this has 1.6 million subscribers. I was doing a Journey Series video this morning, part of Journey Series 110. And I ended up looking at the Heartfulness YouTube channel. For those of you who don't know, I've left the heartfulness aspect of the organization that's become corrupt and a religion and cult-like and incompetent and just all these things. And I looked at their horrible YouTube channel that has just gotten worse and worse. And there was a video on how Dodgy inspired his grandchild to be more creative. And it was a misleading title because what happened was him and his grandson were watching this Coco Melon videos, right? And the grandson's mom said, yeah, we got to stop that. And the kid had a fit because that's what happens. But I became aware of this, so I looked up this Coco Melon thing. And this is just bad content, right? Now, this thing has 2.8 million views, 3.5 million views, animal dance song, right? This has 5.9 million views. Coco Melon. And then it's just this. And I just want to comment on this because if something annoys you, and this should annoy you, right? If something seems, this is like eyes wide shut stuff for kids, right? There's something just unnatural, icky about this. My kids, I told the story about how my kids, two of them, there was this rabbit thing, this rabbit CD. We got it like Staples or something. This goes back to the, early 2000s, 2001, 2002 or something like this. And it was for toddlers, and it was just like the toddler would move the mouse over. Very simplistic programming. It was just like one page, and there was like bubbles, and there was like music, and there was like, I think 4 different things. And not very complex. And the kids would have fits when I took them off the computer. I mean, they would have tantrums. And I'm like, oh, this is horrible for them, right? And it was annoying to me. Like when I looked at it, it was annoying. Less annoying than this, but still annoying. And if it's annoying for you, it's bad for your kids. Your kids deserve the same kind of quality content that, is respectful to them and doesn't treat them like dummies. And, they don't have the defense mechanisms that we have. They're just innocent. But you shouldn't put crap in front of kids, and this is just crap, right? This stuff, and it's bad for them. I mean, they don't need to be on the phone or the internet. They can, be in the real world and just like all of us and grow up and, examine nature and just learn through play and, they're experiencing their world, and they don't need to get on the internet. It's not It's not like that there's some race to get on the internet that somehow they'll be more, they'll be better. The internet will be there when they're ready for it, right? And they're certainly not ready as kids. And this kind of content is horrible. I showed you a video on my other channel of a toddler sleeping, and while the child was sleeping, they had this self-soothing activity of they were acting out like they were on the phone or iPad or something, but they were distressed as the child was crying. It's a horrible thing, right? It shows the addictive level of the internet. And this is just crap, right? This is like, this is not how kids, again, this is, bad content, right? The stuff they put out for kids is purposefully bad. It's unnatural. It's twisted. It's demonic or devilish in its own way, right? It's, let's all stand up and move. These horrible songs and things like this. And it's really for stupid kids. Like the stuff is, this is like content for stupid people that you wouldn't watch TV shows and things as an adult. It's the same level, right? This is not, made for gifted kids or smart kids, and there shouldn't be anything. Like they don't need that. Like they don't need this at all. There shouldn't be, this is like drugs. Like this is like fentanyl for kids or whatever. There should be no fentanyl for kids, right? There should be no internet content for kids. They don't need to be on the internet. They don't need to be on the phone. They don't need any of these things. It's bad for them. And speaking of stupid, so when I was eating breakfast, I saw that Ron DeSantis, they were covering this on CNN and MSNBC. Him and Trump had some exchange of words, right? That exchange or whatever. And this is Ron DeSantis' official YouTube channel here. And like he, look at the difference between, see if we get a close, that's as close as we get. But look at the audio doesn't match his mouth.
Are they just going to charge it to the credit card? Because the people that are eventually going to have to pay that bill can't necessarily vote him out of office right now. So it's always the short-term thinking that happens. And I think
so they put this video up, and they don't have the audio and the video synced, right? So that's that. But then I found the quote, that I heard they're playing on these liberal media stations. This is from Forbes. They ended up getting it right. At least they synced it up. And this is the beginning part of it.
On a fundamentally better path. I am not interested in running to simply manage the decline of our country better than the Democrats would manage it. I'm running to reverse the decline of our country.
Woo! Okay, who's running to manage it? Whose platform is it to man? He's making it sound like there's other candidates saying we just want to manage the decline. No, Trump says he wants to make America better, great again. And then the rest of the candidates have some other way of saying that. And the Democrats are saying they're making the world a better place, right? But there's no one saying that. Like he's making something up here. There's no candidate they're going, yeah, this system's going to collapse. I'm just going to manage it for a bit. I'll do a better job of managing the collapse. And that candidate might get my vote. Because that candidate's being honest about our situation, right? Not that I would vote because, somebody saying that is already admitting that there's nothing anybody can do to stop the system from crumbling, which it is. We all see it, right? Woo! Woo! Way to go, DeSantis! Woo! DeSantis! Woo!
So we've got a lot of work to do. We want your support. I can tell you, if you put me up there, as the nominee, we're going to get this done. You'll be able to see us being sworn in on January 20th, 2025.
Who is this us that you speak of?
As the 47th President of the United States. But even more important than that, we will be spitting nails from day one.
Who's this we you're speaking of? Are you more than one person?
We will be tackling all these issues, soup to nuts, and we will deliver.
What about soup to nuts? I don't understand the reference of soup and the nuts.
Results for you and for the rest of the American people.
Woo! Just a mild reaction.
All right. Anybody got anything? Any questions? Yes, sir.
Governor, in the last two elections, most of us in this room voted to drain the swamp twice. Talk to us specifically about why you're the right candidate to folks in New Hampshire to come behind in this primary to drain the swamp and get it done this time, as opposed to the other choice.
This is a hilarious answer.
A great question. And what's your name?
Mark Johnson.
Okay, thanks, Mark. So the question is, and I remember these rallies in 2016. It was exciting. Drain the swamp. I also remember lock her up, right? And then 2 weeks after the election, don't forget about it. Forget I ever said that. No. One thing you'll get from me, if I tell you I'm going to do something, I'm not just saying that for an election. And there are promises I could make that may help me marginally politically that I don't know that I could necessarily follow through on, so I will not make that.
Okay, so he's saying this, right? He's saying that he doesn't make promises he can't keep, and then he makes this hilarious promise.
I think the idea of draining the swamp, in some respects, I think it misses it a little bit. Because we didn't drain it. It's worse today than it's ever been, by far. And that's a sad testament to the state affairs of our country. But even if you're successful at draining it, the next guy can just refill it. So I want to break the swamp. That's really what we need to do. And
did you hear what this MNFer just said? He wants to break the swamp. He wants to break the MNF swamp. I've heard this 3 or 4 times. I saw it on TV, and then I searched for it, and I heard people talking about it, and then I finally found this. He wants to break the swamp. Now, he's a more polished politician than Trump. He's a better speaker than Trump and Biden. He's got a better delivery. He's got kind of an annoying voice kind of thing going on there. But he is a better polished actor than these other guys, right? And he sounds more reasonable than Trump, and certainly better than Biden. But saying stupid stuff like that, where he said, I'm not just going to say promises that I can't keep just to help myself politically. I'm not going to do these promises. He gives the example of Trump saying lock her up and then changing it, and then Trump saying drain the swamp and not doing it. And then he says he wants to break the swamp. Now, first of all, the swamp is always going to be the swamp. Like, I don't know if it was ever not corrupt. But at this point, the cancer has taken over the host, right? Like, you have cancer in your body, and you can get rid of the cancer. But then there's a point where your body would become cancer, right? This is like your body, becoming like a zombie, where you're dead and the zombie has taken over. And so whatever the system was before it was a so-called swamp, before it was corrupt, before it was whatever it is now, it's now turned into something else. It's metamorphosized into something that is unfixable. Like, there's no draining the swamp. There's no getting rid of the deep state. This is, ridiculous, right? It is a swamp. The whole thing's a swamp, whatever it is. And, swamps are necessary. A lot of the life that's bred is bred in swamps and these various estuaries and, these coastal areas. And so swamps, a lot of life is in there. There's a lot of, activity, and they serve a purpose. And, there's a lot of land that people live in that used to be swampland. A lot of coastal land, a lot of land next to water, bodies of water, next to rivers or ponds or oceans and things like this. And what they do is they fill in, they take a lot of soil and they dump it into the swamp. And the swamp always wants to return to being a swamp, right? Like, it's just a low-lying area, and these places often flood. There's a lot of swamps in Connecticut where I grew up that later became, like suburban communities, and there are areas that will just often flood. No matter how much topsoil they dump in there, it wants to go back to what it used to be. And, a swamp is a good thing, like I said, but something that's corrupt and evil and completely, become demonic, you can't fix that thing. It's totaled, right? It's just, everything that was good about it has been eroded in terms of the political, politics And, local politics maybe you could do something with, but not national politics. The system's just corrupted. Money's gotten in there, and big money can buy politicians. There's lobbyists, and the president doesn't have the ability, even if it could be done, to reverse those policies, like to take big money out of politics, to take foreign governments out of politics. Those are laws that have been passed by Congress, the legislative branch, and the president can't do anything about that. And so promising that you're going to drain the swamp is a false promise. And again, the Democrats can promise the same thing, in a different way, but they're both involved in it, right? It's corrupt. They're all corrupt, and it's a corrupted system. And DeSantis isn't going to, break the swamp. Like, what does that even mean? It's not a machine, it's not something you smash into a million pieces, right? I'm going to break this. Let's listen to that again. That's great.
Next guy can just refill it. So I want to break the swamp. That's really what we need to do. And part of the way you do that is you understand what's gone wrong. We have a constitution that our founders framed with 3 branches of government: legislative, executive, judicial. They did not create a 4th branch of government, an administrative state that operates basically without accountability and with impunity. A lot of the most important things that affect our daily lives now: what kind of car you can drive, what kind of energy you can use, whether you can use a gas stove.
He's going to break the swamp by taking away the rules. That I've lived in Democratic places that have way too many rules, right? And I've lived in Republican places where you can pretty much do what you want. And both places suck, right? So the Democratic places, the government is overreach, government, interference, too much, whatever it is, government interference in your lives. But then you live in Republican places, and like my next door neighbor just decided to burn his couch one day. He just decided to, I don't want to go to the dump, which was 5 miles away. 5 minutes away, like a mile away from his house. We lived next to a dump where he could have taken the couch and brought it over there. It might have cost him maybe $5, which, instead he decided to throw some gas on it and burn it. And I'm like, what's that smell? And there was this toxic smell outside, and I couldn't let my kids outside because he was burning this couch because, that's what he wanted to do, and there was no rules to it, right? A lot more pollution and you'll see this, the Republican places, because people suck and government sucks, right? And so that's not going to break the swamp. Like he's saying that's going to break the swamp. No, the way to get rid of the swamp aspect is to bring all money and corporations out of politics, and that's not going to happen. That couldn't happen now. And so it's corrupted because politicians can be bought and are bought. And the only way to win an election is to have handlers and people who give you money that you have to work for. Otherwise, you can't win a presidency or you can't win in Congress or any of these things. So you have to have ties to big business. You have to have ties to, very powerful people. And that's how you become a nationally elected official. You're owned. Every national elected official is owned and can't, come into the system and decancerify it, right? It can't be done. And so that's just stupid, right? I'm going to break the swamp. Just stupid stuff, right? And, isn't going to happen. So there's more of this Riley Gaines testimony. Riley Gaines calls out Karine Jean-Pierre during her tense hearing on whatever. It cuts off there.
And I want to say to our witnesses, thank you for being here, for standing up and showing us your courage. I'd like to focus a couple of questions and ask Ms. Gaines to respond. The evening that the attack on you happened, I think the whole country thought, how is this possible? You've had the courage to
I just heard about it 2 days ago.
speak out on an issue that is very personal to you. I have 3 daughters, and to think about the issue that you're talking about And standing up for
Okay, so this guy's move on here. Let's see what she says.
We've used the term domestic terrorists a lot in this hearing, and that's constantly something I get called by these same left-leaning protesters who, again, for simply saying women deserve fairness, we deserve safety, and we deserve privacy, and we deserve respect. And I get called a domestic terrorist all the time. So this term...
This guy laughing. Is that her dad?
For me, maybe I have a skewed perception of what it means. But yes, it's been... I don't know, again, it's just disheartening to be in the position I'm in, feeling like I'm asking for the bare minimum, feeling like I'm asking for something that is so simple.
See, if draining the swamp or breaking the swamp was possible, this wouldn't even be being talked about, right? This wouldn't have ever happened. This, happened under Trump, and it's continuing, and nobody knows who's making this happen, right? I mean, corporations are behind it. Social media is behind it, this whole movement, and all the people, in media and the Democrats are behind it. But the majority of people aren't. The people who, especially in, state by state basis. And internationally, you can't have a biological man compete with women. At least, like openly. I mean, they're testing for it, right? Like on the Olympics, other countries won't allow this to happen. And so a biologically born male who has taken estrogen is allowed to compete against biological females. I saw another video from her where she said she didn't want to be on the podium with this, her competitor. And then she decided to be on the podium to see, so people could see the physical differences. That her competitor had, broader shoulders and all these things, right? And her competitor was born a male, and there's physical advantages. Everybody understands this, should understand this. There's physical advantages. That's why there's separate competition athletically for males and females. Because women, get to have their own thing, right? And, there are exceptional women, but men are just better, right? Better at sports, physically stronger. And so she was winning competitions, this girl, until she had to compete against a biological male, right? So, it's kind of a no-brainer. I mean, we've seen this. It used to be a no-brainer. Like nobody would put a biological male, and certainly in the bathrooms and these other things. But somehow this got pushed through. And nobody really knows who did it, like who's responsible for this movement. And I've talked about how in the Hollywood morality and the fashion industry and these places, this was, acceptable. This was stuff that was already there years ago, but now it's something they're rolling out on the internet, and kids are growing up with this and told that this is, the new paradigm, and this is, this was always, this is something they're being was wrongly, the old way was the wrong way, and the new way, this better way, was being suppressed. And where did it come from, and why is it happening when most people are against it, right? When most people don't agree with it. And I don't know what the poll numbers are now, but certainly when it was rolled out, most people were against it, and it just became reality. And anybody who's speaking against it was supposed to be deplatformed, was supposed to be censored, was supposed to be, you're homophobic or you're transphobic, you're a horrible person. When you ask legitimate questions, and, there's no scientific basis for this. There's no proof of, there's not like some breakthrough they had to show that this was the way it always should be, that biological males get to compete with biological females. Like it's, there's some way that it's equal, and it's not, right? Biological males have a physical advantage.
Simple that we all are entitled to, yet I'm being, held hostage. And there's one more piece I wanted to mention about this night that I haven't really touched on. I briefly touched on it in my testimony. The verbiage outside the room, when I was still giving my speech, these protesters, the video doesn't do a good job showing of just how many were in these stairways. I mean, it was hundreds of people. But these people, they were outside the rooms, and one side of the hallway would yell, trans rights are under attack, and the other side would yell back, what do? We fight back. And they kept using the term, we fight back. And so after I'd finally been barricaded and I was in this room for a couple hours and they kept saying it, I'm like, why do they keep saying we fight back? And we've talked a lot about this stemming from the top in regards to Trump and January 6th and Tucker Carlson giving the license to people to basically do whatever they want but we're not talking about this on this side of it. Because the day before this incident at San Francisco State, the Biden administration press secretary had a press release, a press conference where she says word for word, our trans community is resilient and they fight back. And I find it so ironic they were using the exact same verbiage, we fight back. They kept saying it continuously.
Yeah, because this is politically motivated. They use the same talking points, right? Like this is something I've showed you time and time again. In fact, there's, we're going to see this with Trump's, my wife sent me a video, I think, somebody did, with Trump using the same thing over and over again. Let's go to that right here.
I was the perfect person. I was like central casting.
Hey, you know what? And he's central casting. Look at that guy, central casting.
And these are central casting. If I'm doing a movie, I pick you, General.
Central casting. Very impressive. Oh, you're central casting. Look at this guy.
So this is something, this is 2 minutes and 20 seconds long. I don't know if I can show you the whole thing. But these are talking points, and they use them. And you've seen it on local news channels where, I get these things people send me all the time on Instagram, where local news channels across the country use the exact same phrases. And it's, rolled out there, and it's a concerted movement. And the people who are running this are disinformation agents, and they get a bunch of dopes to go protest with them, and they say the exact same things. This is being run by the intelligence community, and they have these talking points because they're combating what everyone knows to be wrong. Everyone knows to be, unnatural, right?
This man's central casting. I watch him all the time. Central casting.
He's a real talent, a real guy, and he is central casting. Do we agree? Central casting.
They're central casting, the red suspenders, handsome, beautiful, smart. You couldn't get better central casting.
He is great in every way, and he's central casting. This is a man that was born for the position.
No, he was central casting like the perfect Supreme Court judge. These guys are central casting. There's nobody in Hollywood that looks like these people. And they're central casting. I've never seen a group of people like this. Everyone's in perfect shape. My friend, central casting. I always call him central casting.
So this is only a minute, and there's another minute, 20 seconds. I'm not, but they just say the same things over and over again. They have their catchphrases. This is just a catchphrase. They have their talking points. And that's what she was referring to, Riley Gaines, when they were chanting the same thing as Biden's press secretary, right? Because, again, that's the way that they make it sound. They just repeat the same things over and over again, lies and disinformation. And I'm not talking just about the Democrats or Republicans or, it goes on everywhere. If they repeat it enough, it becomes true. It becomes you get it pounded into your skulls, and then you just accept it as being reality. My wife and I were talking about how we still remember jingles of commercials. We were talking about all the different jingles and sayings we remember for commercials as kids, right? We'd watch these TV commercials, and they're still a part of us, our internal world, right? Like the good jingles, you still remember. There was a Oscar Mayer bologna jingle. My bologna has a first name, and it's B-O-L, they spell it right. And Oscar Mayer has a way with B-O-L-A-N-G-A, right? Those of you who grew up in our generation know what I'm talking about, right? So many different, these jingles and things, and, you still remember them. Like things like the Pledge of Allegiance and all these other things. You're indoctrinated. And with these things, many of them are deceptive lies, things that are bad for you or whatever else.
There's nothing special about being American. None of you can define for me what an American is.
No, Joe. Everything is special about being an American.
Oh, boy. All right. So this is Lauren Boebert. Now, I covered her with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene called her a little boop. If you guys remember that from maybe my other channel, no, maybe here, I don't know. Probably my last video here. And I thought that Lauren Boebert was a smart one. Right? But, you know, you're born in a country. You're not special. Like this idea that Americans are special. This is why people hate America in other countries. There's an arrogance. You're lucky enough to be born or cursed enough to be born. You know, America's a great country materially, but horribly spiritually. So there's advantages and disadvantages. But you're not special. You're not special just because you're American, right? And, you know, no matter what you Republicans want to believe or think about it. But this is just stupid. This is for stupid people.
Where we cherish our God-given rights.
Your rights aren't God-given. The government isn't God-given. The Constitution isn't God-given. It's a construct. It's from man. The government gives you rights, right? The government is the authority, and we buy into the authority, whatever level we buy into the authority. But the government is the one that says you have these rights, and, you know, we're allowing you to do this, right? And without it, you have chaos and, you know, whatever. And so that's, you know, but your God-given rights are laws to do with divinity. Divine laws, right? The laws of God. And those can't be given or taken away. Those are just the rules. And, you know, we have freedom of choice, which God has given us. It doesn't mean that we get to do it. That doesn't mean that we get to, you know, it means we can, but should we, right? You know, this is just stupid Republican rhetoric.
And we will not allow you to take them away. Being an American means we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it means when you push us too far, a proud American like me can put my life on hold to serve in Congress.
You're putting your life on hold? Like you have a better option than being a national congresswoman, right? I mean, what was your other option? Like you're sacrificing to be a congresswoman? You're going to be a lifer. You'll be there as long as you're able to get elected, right? You're going to... Yeah, I put my life on hold. You know who else put their life on hold? This guy.
It's a pleasure to be here and to introduce my friend, Congressman Boyle Bile.
Well, thank you. I'm Congressman Brendan Boyle.
My friend, Congressman Boyle Bile.
I'm Congressman Brendan Boyle.
Congressman Boyle Bile.
Congressman Brendan Boyle.
And get our country back on track. And that includes sending you back to Delaware, where, frankly, you belong.
Man hands. And so that's just obnoxious, like just annoying. And like I thought she was the smart one. But now I know different. Okay, so here it is, right? This guy, the Pammer guy, bombshell audio evidence in Trump docu case. This game is over. Andrew Weissman on Trump bombshell. YouTube recommended this. I didn't see it, but I'll just, you know, he always is hilarious. Now this is phase 2 of his show, right? So they come in and they talk about Trump. And then they bring in guests and they have the phase, you know, they go to commercial, whatever, and they have the second phase. So, you know, the first half hour, maybe the whole hour is of his show. He's got an hour-long primetime show. At least 15 minutes is devoted to Trump, if not the whole hour, half hour, whatever it is, right?
Prosecutors on Jack Smith's team here when they listen to this?
Well, it's important for everyone to remember they have had this. In other words, we're learning about this, but they have the tape. And knowing Jack Smith, they have interviewed everybody other than the former president who was in that room. So they have all of the information about the tape recording, what happened in that room, and everyone's version of what they recall. So you don't put something like this in a charging instrument unless you have this completely locked down. That's just how anybody, and certainly how Jack Smith operates.
Jack Smith is a real deal.
And so the big picture here, I think, for people is this is not a tape recording where we need to fly spec it. I mean, this is game over if you are following the facts and the law. He's charged with having classified information and knowing that he.
Okay, so I thought they were going to play the recording, but I'm going to go find this.
This morning, ABC News has obtained the audio recording of former President Trump appearing to show off secret documents he did not declassify.
I just found, isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case, you know. Except it is like highly confidential, secret.
The conversation with aides and two people working on an autobiography of former Trump chief
They really got his face is falling apart here.
of staff Mark Meadows took place in 2021 at Trump's New Jersey golf club. The contents of the recording have previously been reported and are quoted in the Justice Department's indictment related to Trump's handling of classified documents after leaving office. But the recording itself has never before been heard publicly. Trump is heard railing against his former Joint Chiefs Chairman, General Mark Milley, while shuffling papers. And he references a document about attacking Iran in which Trump says Milley compiled.
He said that I wanted to attack Iran. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look. This was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, but they presented me this. This was him.
Okay, so the question is, who's recording this? And how did they get it? Like, was Trump recording all of his interactions, or was somebody else secretly recording Trump? Like, how do they have this recording? Like, this is a private conversation. Clearly, Trump was, didn't expect this to ever leak, or that there would actually be recorded. This is like Nixon recording himself. Where did the recording come from?
This was the Defense Department and him.
The recording appears to undercut Trump's claim that he had declassified the documents before leaving office, and a staffer is heard acknowledging that there could be something wrong with Trump sharing the material.
These are the papers. This was done by the military, given to me. I think we can probably, right?
I don't know, we'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to
Declassify.
figure out
it. See, as president, I could have declassified it. Now I can't, but this is classified.
now we have a problem.
Isn't that interesting?
Trump is.
But it says right here it's classified.
But this is classified.
He said this is classified. Now, aside from a deep fake, if this is a real, and Trump's already admitted to this, like he's already defended this. And so where did the recording come from? Like, why isn't anybody asking that? Who recorded this, and how did this end up finding its way to ABC when they're leaking this from the court case, right? Who leaked it? So somebody recorded it, and then the Justice Department got a hold of this. This became part of the charges against Trump, and now it's been leaked from whoever, right? Who leaked it? Where did this come from? Because this is going to hurt his ability to get a fair trial. They're leaking this, to get Trumpers to understand that he's screwed himself here, right? The marginal ones, people who aren't going to, people who, most of them won't bail on Trump, right?
Now we have a problem.
Isn't that interesting?
Trump has pleaded not guilty to 37 federal charges, including conspiracy and obstruction.
So he's sharing classified information with people who don't have the classification. He admitted that it wasn't declassified and that he can't do it now because he's not president anymore. I mean, it screws him in terms of the case, right? So I'm going to search right now who recorded Trump. I asked the question, who recorded Trump? And, there's a video that we just saw. New audio recording discussing, here it is, another one. They're not saying where it came from. Here at CNN, they say that CNN exclusively obtained the audio recording of 2021 meeting in Bedminster, New Jersey, where President Trump discusses holding secret documents he did not declassify. The recording was first aired on Anderson Cooper 360, includes details from the conversation as a critical piece of the evidence in special counsel Jack Smith's indictment. So Jack Smith, someone on his side leaked this, right? It wasn't Trump's people. So somebody leaked this document, which is going to screw Trump's, ability to get a fair trial if there's, I don't know who the jury's going to be. But it says what it says here, but it doesn't answer my question. Who recorded this? Where did the recording come from? Did somebody in the room record Trump without his knowledge, right? Like, who is the person that recorded Trump? Why Trump's weird reaction to audio recording matters? Well, who recorded him? Like, this is the question I asked, and this is how Google search is working for me. They're not saying who recorded him, right? They're not answering my question. New York Times, audio undercuts Trump's assertion, did not declassify document. It's important to know who recorded him, right? Because, portions of the transcript, 2-minute recording of Trump, again, where did it come from? Like, why would this private meeting been recorded? Trump appears to acknowledge highly confidential documents and audio tape. This is Politico. And so there's no information out there who recorded it. PBS new audio recording reveals Trump discuss highly confidential document. Was somebody wearing a wire? Did the FBI have his place bugged? Did the intelligence community bug his place? Like, where did it come from? Like, why is this available? Right? Does this happen because somebody's phone automatically recorded this? Like, all these, everybody's phone in the room recorded this, and because that's happening all the time, because you have an open mic when you're walking around with your phone. Like, this is privacy stuff too, right? Like, if this is being admitted, who had permission to record him in his private residence? I mean, Trump's guilty. He's a piece of boop, right? He's a piece of boop. But in terms of, there's no information. Like, they should be asking this question, well, where'd the recording come from? The auto recording comes from a 2021 interview Trump gave at his Westminster resort for people working on the memoir of Mark Meadows, Trump's former chief of staff. The tape was made at his Bedminster Golf Club in New Jersey the summer after Trump left office during a meeting with a publisher and a writer working on the memoir, Trump's final chief of staff, Mark Meadows, according to people familiar with the matter. So here's the book, right? The Chief's Chief, 4.5 stars and 1,362 reviews here. But this is Mark Meadows' book. This is the book that they're talking about here. So this is Mark Meadows' book, provides evidence for Trump's indictment, March of Trump's memoirs, Mark Meadows and others. But this was a memoir that was supposed to help Trump, right? Mark Meadows is writing a memoir that's based in Trump's behalf. And during that process, people that were involved with Mark Meadows' memoir, which this was the summer of 2021, and this was released in December here of 2021, right? So this, they had a quick turnaround on this. But people in the room, either the room was bugged, either they're using people's cell phones to record things, which I believe happens all the time, or somebody was wearing a tape, was wearing a, they had a recording device of some kind. But somebody recorded this. Again, it screws Trump. Like, Trump is screwed. Like, this is damning evidence. I mean, he's, I don't know if he's going to get off or not, but he shouldn't based on this recording. It completely F's Trump. But who recorded it? Where did it come from? And, if you guys know anything more than I do, this is a research I did. But who was the person responsible for pressing the record button, and where it came from is important. Obviously Trump is screwed here, but that's, All right, so there's a lot here. Let me just wrap this up. I'm finishing up editing this, and I'm going to, end this video here. But there's a couple of things. Now, Trump is a complete moron because what he says in the tape, like, he starts off by saying, this is going to win my case, and like, he's talking about his case where this general's accusing him of wanting a war with Iran, and Trump said that this guy sent him this, this plan to attack Iran, right? So, Trump thinks he's got this general who's been talking, boop about him, right? But it's going to destroy his case, because his case was the documents were already declassified, that he had the right to have these documents because he was president. He declassified them, and he admits in this tape that he doesn't. But also, he's sharing these documents with Mark Meadows publishers who don't have any governmental clearance. I mean, maybe they've gotten some clearance to do the book, I don't know, like a ghostwriter, and other staff members that don't have security clearance, and these are people who no longer work for the government, so whatever clearance they used to have, they don't have. So it seems like a room full of people, which they know who was there, because they're going to get everyone to testify, and those people didn't have clearance. So Trump is mishandling the documents, showing documents to people who shouldn't see them, and then he admits that this document is classified and he can't do that anymore, undercutting his case. And so it's a disaster for him. Like, everything about it makes their case, like makes the government's case against him. And now he's trying to spin it, and there's no way to spin this. He said that the document wasn't classified, but he already said that. So he's a real dope. But another reason he's a dope is, I notice this all the time. My wife and I will go out walking in our pasture, away from our Wi-Fi, away from anything in our house, and I have my phone. My wife sometimes brings her phone, but usually I bring mine. I count gives the statistics of how much exercise I'm getting and walking. But in having my phone, we'll have conversations, private conversations about something, and we'll come inside, and that's the only time we've talked about it. And within a short period of time, if I look at Facebook or, Amazon or something, there'll be an ad for something we were talking about, which means they're getting audio from our phones. Many of you have experienced this, right? Where they're recording your phone all the time. I mean, they're spying on you all the time. And in Trump's case, he had pissed off the intelligence community. He's a much more important person in terms of his status in the government and his as a economic whatever it is, famous person, right? And so as a famous person, a person that people are trying to get, a person with lots of enemies, including the three branches of the intelligence community, you'd think the guy would be smart enough not to say things that someone in the room could be recording, or their phones could be recording, or there could be bugs in his office or whatever it is, right? And so, I'm aware of people spying on me and you all, just as ordinary people. We get spied on all the time through the internet, through social media, through our devices, whatever it is, right? And I'm aware of it, and, he should be even more aware of it, right? Like, he's, aware of these things because they're doing it to each other. I mean, it's just this, the world is full of gathering information. Even without this tape, Trump committed this crime, as did Obama, as did Clinton, but doesn't matter if they don't go after them. You could say, well, why don't you go after them? That's not how the law works, right? The law doesn't, when a gangster gets arrested, like some famous mafiosa guy, he doesn't say, well, why didn't you arrest these guys over here? They're doing the same thing, right? There's no fairness. There's no, Martha Stewart. Well, there's lots of people who do insider trading, so I should do it. There's no, something like that, right? It's they've singled you out, so they singled you out, right? There's no aspect of the justice community that says things are fair or not fair, or why didn't you go after somebody doing the worst crime, or whatever it might be. Like, it just matters that you broke the law, which Trump did. And regardless of whether it's fair or not, or whether he's being targeted and whatever's going on with that, he broke the law, and now he's admitted to breaking it. And so they can put him in jail. And I don't know if they will or not. I've said so many times, what did they do without Trump, the left? What would they do without him? He's their star. He's the center of their universe. What did MSNBC and CNN do? So we'll see. So that's that. But then there's these other two things that are equally important, maybe even more important, who taped Trump and who leaked the tape? How did CNN get the tape? Because those are monumental questions, and they're not asking it. You see this all the time where the media refuses to ask the question because Trump sucks, and yeah, the story is about Trump, sure. Trump's guilty, okay, whatever. But what about the person who tape recorded him, taped him? How did that happen? Because like I said, it could have happened a variety of ways. And was he being spied on? Was he being spied on by just social media on the phone, or by the whatever, the software, the phone company, whatever it is, right? The service provider for the phone. I mean, that's was it like iPhone or Apple, or was it one of these other Android phones? Was he being spied on by somebody having the phone, or did they get the tape that way? Did they get the conversation that way? Or was someone in the room doing it? I mean, what was it? Like, that's, kind of important. That's a part of the story. And then once this tape became part of the criminal investigation, somebody leaked it from the Justice Department. And it totally screws the defendant. It, prohibits him from getting really a fair trial. And it, hurts him in the polls and with his base. And I mean, these people are, very loyal to him. But if you're going to be honest, you'd be like, this guy's a complete idiot, and he's totally guilty, and he's probably going to go to jail. So, why did they leak it, right? Was it to piss off people who, if Trump gets off, that the right left-wing people will be like, but there's all this evidence. I mean, what's the reason behind them leaking it, and who leaked it? And that's another part of the problem, right? Which the media just doesn't talk about. And when I searched for that, they just gave me the same stuff as if I searched Trump tape, right? They didn't give me, Google didn't provide me with any kind of results that would give me what I wanted to know. It might be out there, but they're hiding it. They're hiding it in the search engine. Like I worked 5 minutes. I spent 10 minutes on it maybe, and I couldn't find anything. And so who's hiding it and why, right? Because that's, another level of the spy community and all these things, the information gathering, the privacy issues. And that all should be, part of it. We should know who taped Trump, why they taped Trump, and, what's the, whatever, all the other details that are involved in this. But anyways, only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano, definitely important for the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.